Right, lads, 2019 part 2. So we've already decided this is the craziest year of Irish football. So part 1 was fairly crazy. Part 2, is it going to get more crazy? Any more stalking, David?
There is actually in this particular episode. Yes,
Excessive stalking?
no, oh no, it's not in this one. It's at some part 3. But yeah, sorry to let you all down, lads.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time. So
No, it will be next time. Trust me.
I'm looking forward to that, and I'm sure everyone else is. And no war, though. Sadly, no war at all. So we left off the last episode with Noel Mooney's appointment. So just if anyone didn't listen to part 1, you probably should, or else this might be a little bit underwhelming. But we spoke about Declan Rice's Ireland rejection, as if it hasn't been spoken about enough. We spoke about the tennis balls during the Georgia game. We spoke about John Delaney, the Oireachtas committee, and now we're moving on to even more drama. Crazy, crazy years, we said. So just starting off, so the 20th of May, so Noel Mooney was appointed as the interim CEO. Good friend of David, good friend of the podcast, currently with the Welsh.
Love you, Noel.
Lovely Noel, the gorgeous. I think we said in the last episode, the luscious Noel Mooney. And just a couple of little articles that kind of came out around the time that David's kind of dug out from the archives. So on the 26th of May, so Shane Ross saying in an article with the Sunday Independent that the move to bring in Noel Mooney is backwards and a cynical move, and said that Mooney is one of the last people on God's earth suitable for this job. So going to Mooney is going back to the dark ages, and that was according to Ross. Wowza.
Yeah, that was actually down to, and it's kind of, and this is what I love about politics, and it's very Irish as well. But basically, Shane Ross had an issue with Noel Mooney becoming, the interim CEO, as you heard from those quotes. But apparently, that equates to and goes back to comments that Noel Mooney made it was an event a while back. Now, Mooney was a part of the commercial side of the FAI, and I think he's the guy that came up with the whole, or he headed the team that came up with the whole hashtag greatest league in the world for the League of Ireland.
Was was Noel Mooney ousted from the FAI with cuts and stuff?
From the cuts, he was, but he told me in person he had several arguments with John Delaney over several things, and to be fair with Noel, he does strike me as he's quite fiery and
but transparent as well.
From what I've seen of him, definitely transparent. From my dealings with Noel, everything he said to me, he would do. He did. He did. I can't give the man any more credit than that from my dealings with Noel, anyway. And best luck to him with Wales. Actually, hope to see him back again sometime. If he has a great spell with Wales, obviously, definitely, I reckon he'll be back with the Irish job. But sorry, I digress there. But basically, he was at some function. I think it was 2015. It could have been, and he made an announcement. Basically saying how wonderful John Delaney was, and how great the FAI was doing. Blah blah blah. And Shane Ross basically that's what he took umbrage with, which actually is hilarious when you think about what Shane Ross had said in 2018 about John Delaney and the FAI. And there's a very famous clip out there from News Talk saying, the fans love John Delaney. They're doing a great job. Everything's wonderful. Hadn't a clue.
Mr. Bandwagoner himself.
Yeah, I just didn't have a clue with that weird English accent that he has.
Sorry,
whoa.
Sorry, Mark. Yeah, but the difference is, though, Martin, you were born in London and live in London. He was born in Ireland and lives in Ireland, as far as I'm aware. So it's all a bit weird. Not taken away from your Irishness, by the way, Martin. Just putting that out there.
Our favourite Englishman.
Our very favourite Englishman. But yeah, and this whole thing, not just talking out of both sides of his mouth, Shane Ross, he was screaming out of both sides of his mouth. And actually, much to the detriment, he was caught with his pants down. He was caught, asleep at the wheel, not pants down. I don't want to picture that, Jesus. But he was caught asleep at the wheel, Shane Ross, and he was embarrassed. And he was embarrassed, and he should feel embarrassed. And basically, he's trying to overcompensate now, and he's trying to, he's going too far in the other direction, saying, no, this is wrong. We need a full, And they're going, well, look, we'll do that. I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit here. The FAI stance was, we'll do that. But, we need to sort of you can't just clear everyone out straight away. There does have to be a little bit of a handover, because otherwise you have absolute even more carnage if that's actually possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to comment on this, I think Noel was a very safe pair of hands, very respected in UEFA circles. He did lead the FAI, at that time as well. I always felt that he's been over at Risk London events with us, really good friend of our club. Always a great speaker, very passionate about Irish football, and great ideas and stuff. And he was an Irish person in the door at UEFA, so very good at networking, very politically savvy as well. Like I said, very, very, very well respected. So I think it was a case of here that he was a very safe pair of hands. He knows the intricate workings of the FAI, the how it all works in the background, the schoolboy league and stuff. I think we're quite a unique footballing nation in that respect. So it was a very good decision. Obviously, we'll come on to speak about the funding, I'm sure, with UEFA kind of bailing the FAI out to some respect. But he was a very safe choice, and he was going to come in and do a good job and kind of steady the ship, and that's what UEFA wanted. Whereas I think Ross then is just tarnishing Mooney because he's part of the background group who were there when John Delaney was there, and basically being a politician, Ross is just saying we should be clearing house here. They think it's like a government. Like I'm amazed at governments how you can be a minister of education for 2 years and then you end up being the minister for health the next year. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think that's what his perception of the FAI role was, that we can just come in, clear everybody out who was part of this wrongdoing allegedly, and then no one, whoever was ever connected to it, should be part of it going forward. We've mentioned in the past, very good people at the FAI, very disillusioned at this time. Must have been a real shit environment to work in, to be honest. People I openly spoke to, I think I mentioned it before, they, you kind of be embarrassed wearing the FAI badge around, like, work, saying that you work for the FAI, which is absurd, really. It should be a dream job in some respects. So that was the situation. I think he was just delusional that he was saying everyone should be out, and he was just thought, oh, I'll make my presence known in the media, and jump on the bandwagon, like you said. And oh, look, who can I blame? Oh, well, he's part of that group anyway. Not really understanding. He's got no knowledge of football, as he really, Shane Ross, not really understanding what Noel Mooney was all about and what he was actually brought.
And a politician.
No knowledge is sport at that. He just, it was everything. Like, didn't Katie Taylor win a fight, and he was like at the airport to greet her, and I can't remember what else. Some of the Olympic stuff. He was cringe ready.
But a politician having a go at somebody playing politics, which and that's what Noel Mooney was doing. He was saying all that about John Delaney. Does it age well? No, it doesn't. But that's what you do. You go over to a place, you go, yeah, you guys are fantastic, you're the best. So Noel is a very enthusiastic person.
Yeah, he's promoting Irish football. He's not going to turn around when he's over in Slovakia and they're saying, oh, how are you getting on with the FAI? And oh, how are you getting on with John Delaney? He's not going to go, he's fucking useless and he's this and this, is he? He's going to talk up the FAI as an organisation. And this is how friendlies are arranged, how these other tournaments are kind of arranged as well. This is how it happens. It's networking. And Noel was in the door of UEFA, but very much in my dealings with him, really promoting Irish football at everything, and understands it very well, very, very well connected. And that's what he was doing. And that's what I think he's someone I really think I kind of look up to, in a sense. Like, no, he was working in the FAI and doing very, very well there. And I was so pissed off when they let him out the door, because he had such a good reputation in UEFA, and UEFA snapped him up straight away. Yeah. And he was just one of them people that we let out the door. We let out Paki Bonner as well. He went off to UEFA. So that was just the thing. We didn't have the money to pay them, obviously, but we let very good people out there.
I think his mentality was always that he was going to leave, wasn't it? Similar to Noel Quinn. He was kind of like, look here, kind of short term, but we'll see how we get on. But I don't think that the long-term thing was ever something for them, but it probably should have been made worth their while from the FAI. Just moving on there, last 2nd of June. So the Crisk Awards, I just have down the notes there. Don't know who wants to come in there. Here
we are. The Crisk Awards. This is fun, because this was not too far away from the game in Copenhagen. And I remember, right, I didn't actually. So Martin and I talk, obviously, now, and I suppose we're sort of friends, I guess. But I was actually a member of the London club, the Risk Club. and basically
Risk London.
Risk
You're
London.
a
Sorry.
This should be rolling off the tongue.
It absolutely should.
David, you're getting €15 every time you say Risk London, so you have to remember this for your own finances. You have to remember these things.
And I really should. I'm really sorry, man. Let the team down. I wouldn't mind. I've got like millions of Risk London artifacts all around the house as well. But basically, I joined at this stage. Nobody knew who I was.
Don't.
And I still don't know. I think I stepped on a few toes as well. Before that with some members of Risk, and I was like, I'm going to keep a low profile of this thing. I'd gone to a Stags in Westport, and I'd played my first game of football and probably last game of football in a number of years, and I got the bus to Dublin and then got a bus out to Blanchardstown where this was, and I remember I was put sitting because I was on my own. I didn't go as a Risk London person. I just went as me. And I was sitting at the Galway table, the Galway Supporters Club table, sitting right next to none other than Paul Nealon, and one of the lads. I don't think he's with Irish Football Fan TV anymore, but he was one of the original lads with him. And I got talking to Paul, whatever, everything was fine. And they had Alan McLaughlin there as a special guest. But I just thought that was interesting. And that's actually when I met Noel Mooney for the first time. And I got a picture with him. And how's it going, Noel? And Wes Houlihan was there. Mick brought the team over. Got a photograph with Seamus Coleman and Darren Randolph. But I don't have the photograph because if you're listening, I did actually follow that up. And nobody got back to me on that one. But anyway, if you have it,
give Alexandra Burke a tweet there, and she might send it on to you.
Yeah, I did actually follow. That was like, guys, what's going on? And just nobody got back to me. I was like, okay, fantastic. John Giles was there. I didn't really know what to say to John Giles. I was a little bit starstruck, like a legend of the game. And I remember I got a photograph with him. He goes, "Oh, do you want one of those selfie things?" Yes, I do. Like, yes, I do. And I was like, "Thank you, Mr. Giles." I didn't know what to say to him really, to be honest. And Mick was there. He was lovely. And Alan, of course, a gentleman as always. Terry Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you call him the last time? Terry Conroy?
Conroy. I'm always getting that bloody... I'm terrible with names. Absolutely awful with names. And it was just a lovely, lovely event. Had a nice meal. Went back. I was absolutely buzzing. And Donald Conway was still the president of the FAI at the time. Gave a very good speech as well. Obviously he was severely on the fire. So for me, anyway, it was a fantastic night. Man, were you at that event? We didn't know each other by then, did we? I saw you.
I watched you from afar. This was a brilliant night. I must say, give a lot of credit to the Confederation of Supporters Clubs because obviously the shit is hitting the fan in the FBI at the time, and we were able to organise this amazing night in Blanchardstown and. Fair play as well. Mick brought Seamus Coleman and Darren Randolph, who won the Player of the Year, the Fans Player of the Year this year, to the event. It was absolutely brilliant. Noel Mooney was there as well. All the lads got up and spoke with the guests and stuff. Absolutely brilliant. It was lovely to see Alan McLaughlin there. I had a good chat with him. And a kind of funny story from the night was we had the band Catalpa were there doing the music. And one of the lads got up and does a brilliant rendition of Phelan Warren. Does a brilliant rendition of this kind of songy kind of poem he wrote, and it's like "Who the fuck is Alan?" and it's just brilliant. It's all about obviously that night in November in 1993 when we qualified for the World Cup with Alan's goal, and that was really, it was lovely. It was quite kind of touched and emotional thinking back on it, to be honest. That Alan McLaughlin was there to hear that kind of live. But one funny thing from that was all the tables are around. It's a bit like a wedding, the way they set it out. It's a very good stage, really professionally done, to be honest. And they showed us the highlights of the game in November, and it showed the goals being scored and stuff. And you remember Jimmy Quinn gets the first goal, doesn't he? And Ireland are playing in white that night. But obviously in the screen, some lads have had drink at this thing. They've had a few too many already, maybe around the time of the meal. And when the goal goes in, Jimmy Quinn's goal, wearing the green, this lad jumps off from this table and goes, "Yes, get in!" And everyone just turns around and look at him and think, "That's not our goal." That's fucking brilliant. So he just sat down sheepishly, but really, really good night. I mean,
it's probably David.
No, it's an absolutely brilliant night. I mean, like I said, it was just what I found. It was a bit kind of reconciliationary, if that's the word. it just kind of showed that, all the crap's going on with the FAI, but they were still able to kind of bring this together and respect the fans who put on this thing, this event. Noel Mooney was a really good speaker as well. Wes Houlihan was there as well. Had a great chat with him. Got Alan to sign my program from Windsor Park, and it's just lovely photos and stuff. It was the lads couldn't do enough for us, really, having photos and with all the different supporters clubs, and brilliant. Like I chewed the ear off Johnny Giles, absolutely hero. One of my favorite photos of someone I've met, like probably famous or ex-footballer, is me with him, and I just chewed his ear off chatting about Man United and the time of the Busby Babes and things like that. Bobby Charlton, Liam Whelan, and he's just an absolute, like, I know he's got the book Football Man, but that's what he is. He just is so enthusiastic about football, and he just holds court wherever he is. So yeah, really, really good night, I must say. And it was excellent. And actually, I brought my wife to this game, Caroline, and I remember the next morning, like, we were first flight out, and so I came down to the reception, like, trying to book a taxi, and a taxi pulls up, and this lad kind of comes out of the lift, kind of small, kind of nimble on his feet, like rushing out with a Louis Vuitton bag. And he said, "Oh, how you doing? You all right?" And I went, "Yeah, good." And I said, he goes, "Oh, I'm going to the airport. Do you want a lift?" And it was Wes. So we just got into the cab with Wes Houlihan, and I'm kind of hungover, and I just said, "Right, don't be talking to me now," to my wife. It was just chewing the ear off Wes, then going through. Brilliant. So, and also I'll probably owe him half of the cab fare, to be honest. But I thought, he's probably made a few quid in his time.
No, I still give it back to him, Martin. I still give it back to him.
I might have to head over to Cambridge and get it to him, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Good excuse for a trip over. So moving on there, lads, the 4th of June. So Glenn Whelan saying that he found out that he was released by Aston Villa after he missed 2 phone calls, and one from a journalist asking for his reaction, and the other from Dean Smith about needing to have a chat. Okay, so I mean we've heard that before, lads, haven't we? Like, I think, didn't we hear from didn't we do the episode on Kevin Kilbane? It was actually his birthday yesterday, wasn't it? But we did the episode last year, and his international career with Trapattoni ended from a missed call, wasn't it? So funny how people operate these days. And on the 14th of June of 2019, so Robbie Keane, who of course had been appointed as Ireland assistant manager, had joined the Middlesbrough coaching staff. So he was assistant manager with Jonathan Woodgate. So of course a good buddy of his. And I think that only lasted about a year, didn't it? And then he was relieved of their duties, both of them. So moving swiftly on to the 28th of September. So John Delaney, this is a quote from David. John Delaney finally fucks off.
Yes.
And Donald Conway, the new vice president. Paul Cook, longtime critic of John Delaney. So he did lead the FAI side negotiations, which did produce the deal that led to the former CEO's resignation after 15 years of absolute madness. So it finally came to an end. I remember, lads, years ago, Sepp Blatter being removed from FIFA and breathing a bit of a sigh of relief. Now, nothing really changed, did it? But this was very similar, wasn't it? It was just years and years of nonsense, years and years of a CEO or someone higher up overshadowing the football and overshadowing the things that should have been spoken about. And finally, he was gone. I know there's a lot of making up to do and there's a lot of rebuilding to do, but it was a very positive day for Irish football, even though he possibly did ride off into the sunset somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, that was one thing that would always come up on Lansdowne Road when people would be sort of saying, yeah, but why did they pay him X amount of money? Well, they had to, unfortunately. That's what they had to. I think he had a €2 million, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, a €2 million golden handshake deal, loyalty bonus that he had maneuvered for himself with the board. So they could have actually paid him. I think he got 400 something around the ballpark of €400,000 as a payoff. But they could have actually given him 2 million. They had to pay that. Legally, they had to pay that. Otherwise, it was 2 million, or they would have had to see out the rest of his contract. So it was actually a stage bit of business. Get him off the books, get him gone, get him out of here. But that goes to show you the man that John Delaney is. That he wouldn't just step down. With some sort of honor. I remember, the gig was up. Jig was completely up. Months before this, but I remember reading an article in the Independent. I can't remember who it was. It wasn't Daniel McDonnell. and they just said that John Delaney was a bit like a spaceman or something along those lines. It's like how when he said something along the lines of, when I explain to my kids when they're a bit older about what John Delaney was about, what he did, and what he allegedly got away with, and how he ran the organization and how he was treated. I mean, it's like a character. It's like, did he actually ever exist? Like, it's mad. It is absolute madness what he got away with, and how he was able.
It's the kind of stuff you read about in history books. Eccentric leaders, eccentric dictators.
It's madness.
And from the Middle Ages, and from just stuff you wouldn't believe existed. But this was happening up until 2019.
Yep, and also led on, like, what was your man? Was it what was the guy's name? Oh God, he did the John the Baptist documentary on the Independent. Oh, what was his name? And he propelled all of this nonsense. And do you remember he had the picture? Oh, we're back to the good old days on the front of the Independent.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, yeah, and John Delaney.
That's where the champagne flutes are all out. Yeah.
Just outrageous stuff, really outrageous stuff. But yeah, I mean, the damage that man has caused, we're going to be feeling that for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. And we still are. I mean, we still are, and it is going to be a long time before this is all fixed. And believe it or not, lads, there was actually a bit more football during this year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more football. So back-to-back in the June of 2019. So Ireland drawing 1-1 with Denmark. So Shane Duffy equalising with 5 minutes to go after Højbjerg, of course, the Spurs lad, had scored just 10 minutes before. And then Ireland beating the mighty Gibraltar 2-0. So Cipollina own goal in the 29th minute and a Robbie Brady goal in stoppage time. A tap in from a James McLean cross. Were you at these games, lads?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I went to Denmark. This was a good trip. This is where David accosted me, and I managed to sort him out a ticket outside the bar. Yeah, it was a really weird one. We had a lot of people. I think they had lots of problems traveling. Flights cancelled and delayed and things. So a lot of people couldn't actually arrive in.
Yeah,
so,
I was at that one as well. It was real arseways. I think we had to fly back through Belfast. It was a rough old trip.
It was a mad one because I think we just ended up like with spare tickets basically, so we were able to sort people out. Obviously, at face value later on, up to kick off. But no, really good crack. In the outside, I can't remember even the bar, David, where we met, but
Dubliners, wasn't it?
Dubliners was in the square, yeah.
And very special, Martin, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I do remember our eyes locking across me kind of cowering away in the corner when I was getting stared out by you, but maybe that's him.
That was actually
Jim Beglam. Jim Beglam was probably standing behind you, Martin.
That was actually you were locking eyes with the top I was wearing. I was wearing that 1990-92 shell suit jacket, the one with the white with the green stripes going across it, and I was wearing my Euro 96 qualifier white jersey, the one we wore against South Africa and Northern Ireland, the famous one, the 4-0 one. I think we only won it twice. That was what you were looking at, Martin.
Ah, right, yeah.
That's what everyone was looking at.
I was there as well, lad. So
you felt it, obviously, Nick.
Yeah, so I probably felt the sexual tension.
Yeah, you just felt the magic as I walked into the Dubliner.
Yeah,
I walked across that square wearing that, and I said to him, I was doing this, and I went, "So wait till you see this. This would be like somebody fucking a pastry girl wearing a belt-sized skirt walking across a Wetherspoons. Everyone be all fucking staring at me, and they were." People coming up and offering me money for my shirt, my jacket. It's like, sorry, lads. It is. I will share these photographs actually in Copenhagen. It's a thing of beauty. I still have it, and I'm waiting for the next.
They'll probably get taken down for being sexual content, to be honest.
It is quite explicit. Yes, absolutely.
It was like I said. I mean, back to outside the Dubliner in the square and stuff. This was one where I don't want to be killjoy, but the ball was being kicked around up onto roofs and fucking up to things. And I remember feeling so sympathetic to this couple who are obviously having the lunch and then the ball lands down. But typical Irish fans, bit of a whip round. And one of the funny things about that was I was all apologetics. I'm really sorry and all this kind of stuff because we were on the table next to them. I was just grateful we hadn't knocked our pints, to be honest. But I remember saying I'm really, really sorry and stuff. And people have had a bit too many drinks. And then this lad next to me, just like he arrived back from the bar, like this is like good few hours before kickoff, like with a round of Jaeger bombs, and I'm thinking like I'm here on a trip with my son here, all right, I had to take one, but I was thinking, geez, like, I was first of all apologize that some people just have had too much, they're getting a bit overexcited, too many drinks, and then this arrives down to me, like walk away sheepishly. But it's brilliant. Like Matt Holland was there with his son and Kenny Cunningham, Tony O'Donoghue, all around, hanging around. Some of the players. I remember meeting Callum O'Dowda's family as well. They were over at the game and having a game of darts with them, which was quite interesting. But no, it was just pretty cool as a place. We've been there many times, haven't we, Denmark? And yeah, it was a good little trip. And I remember like just the football. I mean, look, I remember just going absolutely apeshit when Duffy scored that incredible goal late on. And Alan Judge, I just remember Alan Judge getting injured, didn't he? He break his
he
arm?
broke his wrist, I think, didn't he?
Wrist, yeah.
Was the full-time whistle gone? But I think it was.
It had, yeah.
Now, correct me if I was wrong, but didn't the referee play on, or if my memory serves me correctly, he kind of played on when he shouldn't have played on. It was like it was an unnecessary advantage, and then as a result of that, he actually broke his wrist, and
yeah, that's right.
Left him out for a while. Yeah,
weird. Yeah,
it was a shame because he did well, Judge, didn't he? He must have been about 30, 31, 32 at this age. By the way, he scored an absolute screamer there the other night for Colchester. Yeah, but he's one of those players, he was a bit older, but he was great off the bench, and I think he actually got the assist, didn't he? He said he swung in the free kick that got the Duffy goal. So
he was very
dangerous. Didn't work out for him.
He was very good actually that night. I remember when the goal went in. As I was wearing my absolutely gorgeous white tracksuit. Honestly, it is amazing. I'm not exaggerating this. And I remember the goal went in, and I was right behind the goal. I had a whole row to myself because Martin, the Greek over there, had all the tickets, didn't he? And I remember I'm not going to get you into trouble, Martin. I remember in the bar, I was like, yeah, which one do you want?
It was like that, yeah. Those people didn't turn up. Fuck,
I know, did I see a few watches as well underneath your jacket? Sorry.
From a tell boy.
It's like, what was? Yeah, he goes to this, and and I was ringing people back in Ireland. If you can make it over on the flight, come over and get you. But anyway, he never did. But I just remember when the goal went in, and I was right there, and Shane Duffy just barred through about 5 Denmark players and fucking bang got on the head on the end of it. My immediate reaction was like, yeah, and then I went, hold on. There's a lot of drunk Irish fans around me. They've been on the piss all day. There's a lot of beer. And I actually just turned around. I was thinking of my beautiful, gorgeous tracksuit top. And the thing went up. And I turned around and actually looked up, waiting to see where the beer was going. Because all the beer was flying up in the air. And when I realised that wasn't coming anywhere near my gorgeous top, I was just like, yeah, fuck it. And then I started going mental myself. It was brilliant. It was really good performance in the second half, I think, and we could have won it in the end. I just thought Copenhagen, and I really can't wait to get back there. I thought the people were wonderful.
Yeah, they're lovely fans, and they don't get a lot of fans.
Nice.
So, sorry, very nice. Really, yeah,
even at the end, these two, they're all about. Gee, everyone's 6 foot plus, blonde and gorgeous. That's just the men. Yeah. Or that's just the women, sorry, and the men, and they're all Freudian slip. But these two,
their fans are fantastic. I know, there was the couple of marches down to Lansdowne Road from, kind of from Balls Bridge in the last few games, but they do that all the time. They're always doing marches, and they're very friendly and they're very nice. They're very not hostile, very welcoming. Breen actually kind of befriended one. I think Bream was just over in Copenhagen on holidays, but he made good friends with a Danish fan, Johnny, and we just kind of made it a habit of meeting up with Johnny whenever we went to Copenhagen for games, because obviously we spent a lot of time there the last few years going to Ireland matches, and they're great fans. They're really, really good people, really nice people, and fantastic fans. They're similar to ourselves, but a bit more decorum.
My sister was there with me, and she goes, and you're seeing the Danish fans, and they're all as I said, 6 foot, gorgeous, great shape and the whole lot. And you see the Irish lads, and they're all on the lash the last couple of days. I'm not
boilers hanging out.
Yeah, I remember there was this guy. I got a picture of him. I must share this on the page. And I got a picture with one of the stewards, and I was where I was standing now. I don't drink anymore, as you know, so I was one of the few sober ones. Even my sister was pretty well on, and I was just kind of standing there, and I noticed there was this little steward person, and she was like moaning because there was no smoking allowed in the stand and all this kind of stuff. And it's open air, it's summertime, it's a beautiful day, and you could tell the other lads, because working in football a very long time, and the other lads are just like, oh God, just get this little woman away from us, because she's gonna fuck everything up. Like they're fine. It's one of those, they're fine, leave them alone. And I remember they just sort of like sent her away over to the other stand, over to the home stand. And they were so nice to stewards, and one or two of our fans, let's say, had one or two shandies too many, and were struggling.
Couple of Sherberts.
Yeah, there was one or two of them struggling to make it down the stairs, not to be helped into the seats. And I remember at the end of it, I just went up. I mean, like, listen, I've been in an away game, like it's part of the territory, and I remember I just went up to the guy at the end and said, "Listen, I saw what you did for fans. Thank you so much." I got a photograph, never got his name, and he goes, very, very slippery steps, very slippery steps. Well, yeah, nice one. Lovely people, great trip. Can't wait to go back again. And I remember at the end, there was these two lads, strapping lads, chatting away to me about the game. And I thought, from my experience of football and working in football, I thought like one of them's going to swing for me, or I was kind of standing back a little bit. And no, they were actually there after about a minute. No, these guys actually just want to have a chat about football and just say how well we played and all that. I thought, wow, okay. And yeah, Copenhagen, beautiful. Anyone out there, visit Copenhagen. It's a wonderful city. It's the best city in terms of life and quality of life that I've ever seen. They get it. They absolutely get it over there.
It's a great spot. Proper football fans. The Gibraltar match, lads, one to forget, really, wasn't it? I mean, we got the win, but very, very rigid game. I just remember feeling really bad for Dave McGoldrick, because that own goal, I thought it was on target, and then it was grim, wasn't it? Like Scott Hogan started, he was really off, and wasn't Callum Robinson kind of camped down the wing, and he couldn't really do much. It was a frustrating one, wasn't it? Because I mean, we beat them 7-1 the last time, didn't we?
This was really poor. Didn't they have this is the one where they had the John Delaney 100, what was it? €100,000 note, didn't they? They had him on the seats and were supposed to wave him, I think, in the 33rd minute. But he'd already gone, or whatever had happened. It never, nothing ever happened. But I took a few of those and kept them. I actually shared those on the page. This was a terrible game of football. Shane Duff. Now, this is one of these ones where, Mick had promised us the 2002 style football. I think this is where he thought, no, if I'm going to get this team, I think for me, this was the one where he said, no, we're going to stop playing football, because Shane Duffy had him trying to play out from the back. He couldn't. Now, we know Shane Duffy under Stephen Kenny, he is able to actually play the game, and he can pass, and he's on great form at the moment. But there was a couple and it wasn't just him. There was a few complicit in all this, and it was very, very bad to watch. And I think this is the one where Mick just thought, you know what, lads, we're going to go route one. We're going to play that burst football. We can't play that from the back. These guys can't play 2002, or I do not have the time to play that style of football. I try to learn that style of football. I got to get results and quick. And I had met Mick, not too long after this, actually. And, he's just like, I've got these points in my pocket. That's all I care about.
Yeah, and after promising us the nice style, I think he just kind of accepted it, because we were averaging like a shot a game or something outrageous like that under Mick. So it was very difficult to watch. So moving on there, lads, 27th of July 2019. So the bulk of the FAI's old board is replaced at its AGM, although Donald Conway stayed on as the president. And on the 18th of August, UEFA confirming that John Delaney will not be invited to the UEFA committee meetings or executive committee meetings while the investigations back in Ireland were going on. So it was just more madness, wasn't it, really? It was just more drama, and then a lot of satisfaction knowing that John Delaney wasn't going to UEFA, because I mean that was something that he was very smug about, wasn't it? Something that he felt he had a lot of power with, and that he was gathering a lot of safety with when stuff was kind of kicking off with the FAI.
Yeah, I think this was the kind of the end of him, really, because I think he did have a lot of friends there. To be honest, he was very well respected, and this is it unraveling for him, probably personally and professionally. Yeah, I think just sad, really, because I think for all his many faults, I think the fact that we were a small nation, he was representing us at UEFA. We were challenging with the big boys in that regard. We used to get good friendlies against teams.
Oh man,
we had people. Well, no, but we have had decent teams, haven't we, coming over? But you know what I mean. Like he was very, very highly regarded there, and he was sitting on these executive kind of committees of like underage tournaments and things like that. So he was learning his trade there in a way that he was one of the power brokers, whether you like it or not. He was going that way with UEFA because he was a fantastic politician. That was it.
Noel said that to me actually. When I met Noel for the second time, just to come in on what you're saying there, Martin. And you are right. And
I'm almost right.
Me.
I know I'm right.
Well, you are right, yeah, absolutely. But it pains me to give that man any sort of compliment. John Delaney, not Martin. Martin too. And he really did. One of the things Noel said to me, he said one of the strengths of John Delaney was that he was very strong at the table. Not dealing with the likes of Mike Ashley and folks like that. People that are even allegedly slimerier than him. But when it came to dealing with the JA and it came to dealing with the IRFU, where there had been rumours, shall we say, and feeling that those two other organisations used to always put their nose up at the FAI, and with good reason, to be fair, because it never really represented itself the way it should have. But he actually brought a bit of power with him and a bit of might to that table, and he wasn't pushed around like allegedly maybe some other CEOs were in the past. Not every one of them, but some of them. And he was like, no, you're not going to push us around. And he got deals and he got certain things over the line. So that was one of the probably only good things about John Delaney that he did for the FAI.
And he bought all the lads' points as well, I suppose. That's always a plus.
Hands down in Slovakia, yeah.
Start of September, lads. So believe it or not, a couple of more football matches. So Ireland drawing 1-1 with Switzerland at home. So Fabian Schär scoring an absolute screamer of a goal. Great team goal, wasn't it, on the 74th minute? And Dave McGoldrick scoring the equaliser on the 85th minute. So a great header, very similar to the Denmark game, similar times that the goals were scored. And then just 3 days later, Denmark and Georgia drawing 0-0. So we seem to be kind of back into contention for qualification. And then triple header. So Ireland playing Bulgaria in a friendly. So Alan Brown, Kevin Long, and James Collins all scoring in that game. Of course, Ivan Popov had equalised for Bulgaria before the floodgates kind of opened. And before we move on to a fairly substantial incident, lads, do we want to talk through any of those games? The Swiss game, again, another kind of rigid performance, but they did batter us. But good persistence in the end. I mean, we kind of went back to old school, ruthless pressure and passion and all that kind of thing. James McLean intercepting and setting up the goal. Poor game, though.
It was shocking, and 2002 was long gone at this stage. As I said, I think the Gibraltar game really hammered at home. We were shocking in this game. When McGoldrick did get the goal, though, the atmosphere was cracking. I remember this was the best atmosphere. This was the best atmosphere I'd experienced in the Aviva ever, and I know it was open about 9 years. The old Elson Road was amazing, but this personally for me, Martin's obviously been to a lot more games than I have, but for me, this was the best atmosphere I experienced in Ibiza. Just great, beer bottles flying everywhere, pure carnage. It was like a piss up in a pub on a Saturday night in a nightclub. And I know that sounds bad, but that's. Listen, you want a good atmosphere at the stadium. You need a packed house. You need steaks. And that was the steak. We're in contention here. Like we are fighting, at the top of the table. So we are in contention, and you got a big team, Switzerland. They're thereabouts, and you need a pissed up crowd, and I had all of that. And to be fair to Mick, he did bring that back. That Lancer Roar. It was a proper atmosphere of that game. Unfortunately, the game was absolute muck. The 0-0 in Tbilisi against Denmark for Georgia got us back into contention, and of course, Bulgaria beat them 3-1. Everyone's like, "Oh, this is brilliant." We actually did play a bit of football. I think Jack Byrne made his debut, certainly under Mick anyway, around this time. But Bulgaria was shite. They lost 6-0 to England a couple of days before that. So let's not get, no one got carried away with that.
The really annoying thing with that is we played them exactly a year later, and it was a much more inexperienced team, and we only managed to draw with them. But sure, I suppose we can't really look back at that now.
Don't get me started. Yeah, but COVID, etc., and listen, we could have played Route 1 against Bulgaria and probably beaten them like 2-3-0 in that game, but that's not what we were trying to do. You have to listen. It's all about discipline. You have to have the discipline to stick to the game plan because the game plan is sound, and that's what you have to do. It's very easy to go Route 1 all the time, and you get results, but it's finite, isn't it? So just to answer that little segue there, but no, it was very bad under Mick, and 2002 was long gone. Basically, it wasn't coming back. Not under Mick, and in part 3, it doesn't get any better, does it?
No, not at all.
The difficulty here, I think, with these games was, I think Mick kind of had it. I'm just looking back at the teams there. The Gibraltar game at home, the struggle to win 2-0 there. All of our strikers, none of them had really scored. None of them had scored. I think that was the kind of the media attention saying like we haven't got enough goals in our forwards here in this team, and I think we were expecting a goal fest as fans. Although I know I preach on about this all the time as well. Worst time of year, end of the season, June game. Players don't want to be there. Playing a team that you're damned if you hammer them 7-0 because you're expected to, and you're damned, when you only beat them 2-0, you're condemned as well as absolutely useless. So, we got out of jail there and we just took the 2-0 win, and Mick was happy, and he approached it very much like when we played the games, the away game to them in Gibraltar, that he didn't care, he just wanted the result, and that's all it comes down to in qualification. But for the home Swiss game, then again, pressure was coming into it, so it's a good thing, I think, that McGoldrick got his goal. It was kind of the monkey off his back in a sense. Played, we played all right. Like I do kind of remember the atmosphere. We've got this amazing trait of Ireland. If you look back, even I think when we spoke about the Martin O'Neill tenure when we qualified for the Euros, the amount of late goals we got. We are a team that just, I know I don't want to bring this into Man United, but Man United have that thing, didn't they? Of always, the team are really, you're always going to have a chance late on. And I think we do have that with Ireland. We score a lot of late goals. Even, looking now at the Bulgaria home game, we scored an 83rd minute, 86th minute as well there. So we do have a team that, especially when we're under pressure, we're 1-0 down, we kind of go for broke, and we do nick goals. It's just an amazing thing if you look back at our history. So that was a positive thing for Mick, seeing us do that. And also the lads scoring the goals then, like Collins getting his goal. Very important there as well.
Great finish. Yeah, great finish.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing notable from that is Mark Travers started in goal, which I think is his debut.
Did he started, didn't he? And then did O'Hara come off the bench?
O'Hara came on, yeah. I mean,
he was still with United, I think.
Yeah, he was highly rated, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's kind of gone off the grid a little bit. Yeah. But like that was a very technically good midfield, wasn't it? Like Jack Byrne played in that game. Alan Brown. I know I bash Alan Brown, but he was excellent in that game. I was at the game myself, and he was very, very good. So it kind of showed that there was lads in midfield who could play a bit of ball, but he was still going with that midfield three, wasn't he? Going with Whelan and Hendrick and Harahan, and they were just very static, and it just wasn't happening. And I think a lot of people thought Jack Byrne might come into it because he was very, very good. And what was the quote, David, that he said to you, that Mick himself said to you about Jack Byrne?
Oh, like, he said it to us at the Ritz night a few weeks later. He said it for a share. He would never. Does he think he'd? Well, I'll let David do the impression.
Oh God,
you have to do the impression, David. I pass it off so many times. I started. I know, like, we have to give the people what they want, David.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm on here, so that's the first one. No, but I remember it was at the Ritz night, which is actually part 3, so this is a little bit of a spoiler. But anyway, he was. They're asking, would you not give Jack Byrne a go in the team? And he says, look, I've turned around and said to Jack, and I said, will I give him a run out against Bulgaria or Georgia? Yeah, perhaps. Will I play him against those two big fuckers in the Switzerland defence? Will I bollocks? And that was it.
Will I bollocks?
Sorry, Mick, if you're listening. I do love you. But that's pretty much what he said. And that's why, I mean, he wasn't kidding, was he?
No, absolutely not. And it's been a running theme for a while, hasn't it?
And the other thing to note in this, I think, you might correct me if I'm wrong here. Isn't this around the time as well that Keogh has the incident with Derby?
Yeah.
Oh, possibly. Will we look it up
Yeah.
pretty quickly?
Yeah, we will.
Or will we just talk about it anyway? Let's
We
just
can
talk about it anyway.
anyway.
So another.
I'm gonna have a quick check.
Yeah.
And because this was a big thing, wasn't it? Obviously.
Yeah, it was huge.
Sacked.
It was
Well,
huge.
well,
I think it was because he didn't play against he didn't play the next couple of games because John Egan came in at that stage.
Yeah,
actually, I get away with it.
24th of September 2019, which is a bit of a spoiler. It comes
Yeah, but
in.
That's part three.
I think
Just about part 3. Okay.
What do we reckon, lads? Are we going to cover it tonight, or
No, don't.
will we let everyone sweat?
We'll let everyone sweat. We don't want to spoil anything. We will talk about that in part 3.
Yeah, but I suppose to finish off on a cliffhanger. So the 12th of September. So Stephen Kenny, hospitalized in Sweden and had a pacemaker fitted. Now, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, lads, but both of you actually knew this fairly soon after.
Well, we were told this by Mick McCarthy. Basically, on the 14th of September, he attended the Wrist London an event with us, and Noel Mooney was also in attendance that night. So, I mean, we'll probably cover more of that in the next part. But yeah, he said to us, we asked how things were going and stuff with the senior team and things like that, and the news had happened that Stephen Kenny had taken ill basically at the time, and then it was Mick who let slip to us that he's had a pacemaker fitted, and then it became kind of common knowledge a bit more. But it was obviously worrying times for Kenny at the time, so and his family and stuff. But yeah, I mean, in the background of this, I mean, we might cover it in the next part 3. I think the under 21s were doing quite well, weren't they, under Kenny?
Yeah,
and this was a key thing, and obviously we're seeing the benefit of that now to some respects. So it was obviously a very, very worrying time. But yeah, Mick had let us know that at the meeting he attended with Wrist London.
Yeah, you had me sworn to secrecy about that one, Martin, and then didn't obviously the incident with Christian Eriksen, I think kind of triggered him to go public with it. So yeah, unfortunate incident, but thankfully a success story and a happy story coming out of something very traumatic.
Funny enough, actually, Mick, I found out Mick McCarthy told me before he told the crowd, and because there was the whole rift between Mick and allegedly, I know, between him and Stephen Kenny. And I remember I said, because Stephen Kenny was supposed to be at that night, wasn't he? And basically, I just said to Mick, what's going on between, why isn't Stephen Kenny here? Did you put something in his food? Jokingly like that. And,
yes, I did, David.
Yes, I did. No, he just turns and goes, no, I'm certainly not going to do any impression on this bit, but he just said, like, no, he had a heart attack, he had a pacemaker. Feels like, oh fuck. He goes, yeah, and then he told the crowd. As I said, we can now talk about this. That was said in confidence. It was kept in confidence, because that's how these things are. But obviously, since Stephen Kenny spoke about it publicly, then now we can.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, we covered it a little bit as well, but in the January of 2019, we at West London, we have an annual quiz night, charity quiz night, and our guest at that was Stephen Kenny came over, and it was absolutely brilliant. I mean, not to go off on a tangent about Stephen Kenny, but I know he's often criticised as not a great speaker and things like that, but that night he probably started off quite similar to kind of how we see him in his press conferences in the early days. Quite kind of nervy in a way, but once he gets into it, it was absolutely inspiring what he was saying. He was just so chuffed that he was getting this opportunity, and he said, I will be taking on a senior job, and when I get it, and move into that, I fully believe we've got the DNA. We've got players who can play. We are. I'm going to take this opportunity basically professionally and personally that I'm representing my country, and this is the pinnacle of my career. He was absolutely brilliant that night. And, again, like spoiler alert, but we'll obviously come on to Mick a little bit more of what he tells us at the Wrist London do that he attended in September. But again, Mick's brilliant speaker, very entertaining stuff, and very, very honest. And I just think, I think I said in the last one, anyone you ever hear speak about Mick, and I think to Stephen Kenny as well, they're just very, very honest, and they're upfront and tell you how it is, basically.
Yeah, so certainly plenty more to come in part 3, lads. So we're going to leave it there for tonight. As always, if you have any memories yourself, if you're at any of the games, at any of the Risk meetings, or any of the Crisk meetings in that case, or came across anything interesting, do let us know so we can put it into the next episode. But until next week, take care.